Welcome to the Outback Way, Australia's longest shortcut, the ultimate driving adventure. Spanning over 2,700 kilometres from Laverton in Western Australia to Winton in Queensland, this iconic route takes you through the heart of the country, across stunning desert landscapes, ancient cultural sites, towns and communities rich in history. So gear up, hit the road and embark on an unforgettable journey along Australia's longest shortcut and start making life-lasting memories now.
Welcome to the Outback Way Podcast. Buckle up as we take you on Australia's longest shortcut through the heart of the continent down under. The Outback Way is a 2,700 kilometre road trip stretching from Laverton in Western Australia to Winton in Queensland. You can travel from west to east or east to west. Whether tackling the full route or exploring it in sections, this journey offers breathtaking landscapes, iconic sites like Uluru and the Age of Dinosaurs, and even the world's longest geocache treasure hunt. Hi, I'm Robin McConchie, host for this podcast of the Outback Way Podcast. Today we're looking at 5 hot tips for travelling the Outback Way in 2025. I'm based in Australia, and the Outback Way, nicknamed Australia's longest shortcut, is a 2,700 kilometre road trip across inland Australia from Winton in Queensland to Laverton in Western Australia. You don't have to do the trip in one hit. You can do it in sections. Take your time, visit some of Australia's truly iconic sites like Uluru, the Age of Dinosaurs, and take part in the world's longest geocache treasure hunt. You can camp under the stars and experience ancient landscapes and the living, breathing ecosystem, which is constantly changing before your eyes. We're delighted to be part of the Podcastathon, raising awareness of thousands of charities around the world which are dedicated to positive change. Let's begin today's podcast by finding out more about the Outback Way, one of Australia's best driving adventures. I'm joined by Rick and Ann Britton, who live and breathe Australia's outback and have driven the route many times and fought for funding to seal the road by 2032. Rick is a cattleman, Mayor of Boulia Shire and Deputy Chair of the Outback Way Development Council. I know Anne best through social media and her fantastic night sky photography, her stories about day-to-day life in Australia's sometimes arid inland, and her driving tips. For example, what to do when you see a massive road train that could be 55 metres or 175 feet long coming your way. Rick, you've lived all your life in the bush. What do you love about the country?
The openness and I suppose the isolated. You're in your own little world if you want to. And you now to social, you can be as busy or active on the social, but that where you can just have time out on yourself. You can go for a drive, you just vast skies, and how the country changed, like, born and bred there, even in a drought, it's still, the country still holds beauty. That's what I like it, and how Mother Nature dictates how we operate our business.
And your business is cattle. Tell us a little bit about your cattle enterprise.
Well, we grow natural beef. It's all natural landscape. There's no such as in farming. We don't do anything with the country. We just, whatever Mother Nature gives us in rain is what we control. Is how we control, and we build our numbers up. And then when the country gets dry or drought, we don't have a rain event, we just offload all those. We actually have what they call a integrated. So we breed our own cattle, and then we fatten them to a processing, the heavy bullock into a meatwork or export meat. So we have what they say, it's a holistic. We do it the whole change. And at the moment, we have gone all completely solar. So all our water, all our power for our homesteads and all of that was completely solar. So when you look at the environmental impact that we're having on our operation, we have minimum impact on the landscape.
Now, Rick, my friends who live in the United States and in Europe want to know about the Outback Way. Just give them some sort of sense of the scale of your operation. I know there are bigger properties and I know there are smaller, but how much country do you run cattle on?
Okay, well, we run on 210,000 acres. And in the scale of that, we're a small operator. Like once you get west of us and south, they're on the million-acre properties. You know, they're 20,000, 30,000 head. Because of our arid, as you said, in the arid landscape, we can have down to 1,000, and then we can build up to a maximum of 5,000 head of cattle. So we work in between that, and we operate. And to do that, we destock so that we treat our land as our richest asset. It's the most valuable thing we've got. So if we look after that, we are then long-term. Like my family's now been at Goodwood for over 50 years, and the properties north of us and south, they've been owned by corporations for over 100 years. You know, to say it's not sustainable, they're still operating and producing more kilos of beef than what they were 100 years ago.
Now, Anne, how did you get to Goodwood?
I got to get to Goodwood because I met Rick at a bike gymkhana while I was governorsing out in this country. So that's how I got to get to Goodwood. Yeah. Now,
you grew up thousands of kilometres away from Goodwood. How did you get up to that part of the world?
I grew up my family's around Toowoomba, and both mum and dad had farming backgrounds, so maybe that's in the blood. And once I left the city, I never looked back. So it was went to the middle of the territory as a governess and basically moved around governorsing and never went back to the city.
Now, governorsing is when you look after the kids.
Yeah, and teach them the correspondence papers for school. Yeah, it's not a nanny. Governorsing in Australia is basically correspondence schooling the kids. Yeah.
What do you like about the country?
It's hard to describe really, because it's just once I'm home I feel complete. It's just a sense of belonging out here. It's just, as Rick said, even when it's dry, it's beautiful. When you think of the history of this country, it's just totally incredible. When you can drive through it and know that this was an underground sea many years ago and there were dinosaurs swimming around the country, it humbles you in a way that is incredible. When you walk outside and you see the stars and it makes you feel like 2 millimeters high, its vastness, how far you can see, its incredible history, the stories that come with it. It's an amazing land, and we are only a tiny, tiny little bit in the whole of the outback. It's just an incredible country, and there's so much, really so much to see in so many different landscapes, and it's beautiful. Just an amazing country.
Ever dreamed of unearthing your very own gemstone? Adventure and serenity collide at Gem Tree Fossicking and Caravan Park, located 130 kilometres northeast of Alice Springs on the Plenty Highway. Take a guided tour to sift through nature's sparkling treasures. Garnets, zircons and more await your discovery. After a day of fossicking, unwind at our peaceful caravan park. Enjoy spacious powered and unpowered sites, furnished cabins, pool, bathroom and laundry facilities, and starry nights around the campfire. Perfect for families, solo explorers or retirees craving a uniquely outback escape. Pack your sense of adventure and don't forget your hat. For more info or to book your stay, head to gemtree.com.au. Gemtree Fossicking and Caravan Park, a famously unmissable outback stay.
Rick, what is the Outback Way?
The Outback Way is, as we say, is the road, world's longest shortcut and all that sort of thing. It's going to be an economic driver. As we've built, like when you think this has been 25, 26 plus years building up to where we are now, and the funding, the federal and states right across Australia now have put the money on the table. It's up to local governments now and to governments to seal this road. It's going to change how Australia operates. Really is. It's going to open up our remote little community of Boulia. The development that's going to take place there in all the three major in mining, tourism and agribusiness. a seal access road. To give you an example of a seal access road, as I stated, we produce a 500 to 600 kilo animal. Now, we used to have 77 kilometres of unsealed road of the 370 in the Winton. Our bullocks used to lose 10% of their gross body weight. Now that the road is sealed, they're only losing 4%. So when you're looking at animal welfare, drive fatigue, all those sort of things, operate for that transport, is going to make them more economic. So it's going to be an economic enabler for Australia of our three major commodities, which is ag, tourism and mining. And it's going to be a game changer. And the issue that we're going to have is to make sure that our community grasps that and takes opportunity of it. And then to me, the outback, we were in a discussion about this the other day. Where does the outback start? Well, to me, have you ever seen the famous, when you're driving and someone waves you when you drive past? Well, when you're driving from the east coast or the western coast and you're driving out into the inland Australia, when you get that first wave, you're in the outback.
And it could be just a thumb up on the driving wheel.
Yeah, when you drive, you see the person with their hands on the steering wheel, they give you the thumb up or the little finger, you're in the outback. That's where you see signs, you're ending the outback, you're here. Well, I always judge it on when I get the first wave back.
Now, my friends in the US and Europe have expressed interest in coming to Australia and having an adventure. Why should they do the Outback Way?
It's unique that the landscape that you're going through, whether you fly into into Perth or into Cairns, Townsville, Brisbane on the eastern coast or the west coast, when you go around the outside of Australia, you follow the roads around you see the ocean and all those little things and whatever. When you go through the centre of Australia, the Outback Way journey, you have the ocean, you have the farming, rich farmlands on the eastern seaboards, then you have the probably a dry land cropping, and then when you get out, you then get out into the vast channel country of Queensland, and that goes right through into Alice Springs. You go through channel country, which is all natural landscape. There's been no clearing west of Winton, so what you see there is all natural. That's how it has been since the Age of Dinosaurs. And as I had said, with the big, you imagine the dinosaurs. When you get, it's around the Middleton area, which is halfway between Boulia and Winton, you'll see these vast escarpments of flat top hills. Well, that is the history of how the inland sea eroded those into flat landscapes with the flat tops on top of them as it eroded away. And then once you get into the territory, you're starting to get into the desert country. But this desert country isn't as in rolling, dry sandhills. This is a thriving economy, thriving environment. There's grasslands, there's tree lands, there's all those things. And the best to describe it is when we had a Dutch tourist come in one day. He'd broken down and we'd give him a bed and we fixed his car and drove. And he said what he liked about Australia, it was so unique. Australia has a little bit of everything that the rest of the world got. And you can go from east to west and you can see that in every 100 kilometres, the landscape's changed. I mean, I think it's unique. Yeah, very unique.
And as a photographer, what appeals to you about, putting your lens to the country?
Just to explain what it's like, my ultimate goal is to have the person viewing the photo as if they're standing next to me, and just the way it changes, like a dawn. Like if you're not there within so many minutes, you're going to miss that colour, you're going to miss that dawn, and it's there, it's unique, you'll never see that again. Just the way everything changes, and the night skies are just mind-blowing. Absolutely.
Most of us live in the city. Now, these vast horizons, these massive lightscapes or nightscapes with no pollution, what's it like? You've lived in the city. You've been in the city.
It still stops me in my tracks, really. Like if you go outside at night time and you look up and it's still like it's it's gobsmacking. It really is. You sort of look up and there's just stars for as far as you can see. Even in moonlight, you can see the stars. If there's no moonlight, it's better. You can see more stars and planets, and it stops you and tells you to take a breath. Take a breath, stop what you're doing, and take a moment just to absorb all this amazing nature that's around you.
Rick, you've convinced me. I want an adventure of a lifetime. When should I come out your way? Because over the summer, and I'm talking to you in December, January, February, it's been 46 degrees centigrade out there. When is the best time of year to visit or travel the Outback Way?
Oh, well, a good rule of thumb is after Easter. That's a good rule of thumb is, the Easter come out. And I suppose that's, if you come before Easter, there's a lot of social activities around that on that long Easter weekend. There's a lot of social activities in the Outback. So if you want to get in and be part of it and watch how people interact and social, that'd be a good stepping stone to foundation of what sort of characters you're going to deal with on the journey, because they all come together and you get all those different characters. And then from then on, and I suppose probably the end of August, September, probably, no later than October, because then once you get October into November, well, November is when we start getting the heat, storms and all those sort of things around. But then in that mind, we have the 46, 45 degree heat. We have really cold winters. People do not believe how cold the winters are in Outback. Because we're so open, vast landscape, it's the wind chill factor. So if there's a break, like for people in snow country, it's very comfortable. For us in Western Queensland, where we used to the 45 and then all of a sudden we get down to 10 degrees and we think we're freezing, we need to get around dressed up like an Eskimo. But that is when the sky is the clearest, as Anne said, with the stars, the sunsets and the sunrises. It's hard to explain. Like Anne said, it makes you hold your breath. I think it takes your breath away when you look at that. And like I said, I'm born and bred out here. Every sunset and every sunrise, as Anne said, you'll never capture that moment because every one of them is different.
Okay, we've decided that we want to come on the adventure for a lifetime. We're going to drive from Winton to Alice Springs. How long will that take me, roughly?
Okay, if you want to really enchant it, I would do it in 4 days. 4 days, and that's doing a fair bit of travelling and that. But 4 days would give you an opportunity. Longer the better, but if you do it any quicker than 4 days, you're missing the uniqueness. I mean, if this is going to be once in your lifetime journey, you want to pull up and soak that atmosphere in and capture everything, pull up and capture it. So I'd 4 day, like a day from Winton to Boulia. There's so much to change there because you're actually then, once you leave Winton and coming into Winton, you are then entering the Lake Eyre Basin system. Now, the Lake Eyre Basin system, there's only 4 of these in the world. They are inland river systems that run inland to the centre of Australia into Lake Eyre. There's only 4 in the world, and I probably need to be corrected on that, but I think there's only 4. Australia has the only one that has not got any dams holding that water up. So there's no damming on the system, no big dams. So it is all still natural inland river systems to go into. So that's the Boulia to Winton to Boulia section.
The Outback Way has become a symbol of resilience, connection and progress, weaving together the diverse landscapes and communities of Australia's heartland. In celebration of the 25-year journey of advocacy and lobbying to the funding announcement to complete the seal, the Outback Highway Development Council is proud to present From Bull Dust to Bitumen, 25 Years of the Outback Way, a book that captures the spirit, history and future vision of this transformative project. Order your copy and be part of the journey that continues to shape Australia's outback, its people and the nation. Head over to our website and order yours today at www.outbackway.org.au.
Okay, what sort of vehicle should I be using? I've got a four-wheel drive and I have driven a bit in the outback and I wouldn't have anything other than a four-wheel drive. What are you suggesting, Rick, if we're going to stay overnight on route, we're going to take 4 days?
Yeah, four-wheel drive. You need a four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive is, it gives you that safety, the ground clearance, depending on the road conditions and whatnot. So yeah, a four-wheel drive, two spare tires, water, and if you have if you can get communication, good communication, and also on that thing is you got to have a Telstra phone. I mean, all the other phone companies don't come out there. We're lucky to get Telstra. But now we've got the modern stuff with Starlink is coming into there. So, and there is a number of mobile hotspots between Boulia and Winton. There's actually 3 across there now, so that you don't have the whole 370 kilometres. Every 100 kilometres or 180, I think, there is mobile, so you connect. And if you're travelling it, communication, let know people when you're leaving and when you arriving at your destination. And as soon as you get to your destination, ring those people up to tell them that you have arrived.
Let's get back in our car.
Yeah.
What's the road like? Because it's not all bitumen or tarred or sealed that you get in the United States or in Europe or you get in the cities of Australia. You've got a lot of hard work when you're driving. Tell us about the road, Rick.
Okay, the road from Winton to Boulia is traditionally known as the Beef Road. They were sealed in the 60s. This is just a 4-metre sealed road. That's all it is. It's 4 metres. Now, back in the 60s, we had little single trailer road trains, 2 trailers with probably a 200 horsepower truck. Now we have 600 horsepower, 3 40-foot double-decker trailers working at the beef industry. So the beef industry and the transport industry has moved forward with technology, but we're still working on a 4-metre road. So when you see one of those machines coming towards you, the good rule of thumb is to indicate that you're going to get off the road. And now with the modern cars with the anti-slip brake, and this is I learnt my own experience, make sure that you really go hard on your brakes while you're still on the bitumen, and then move completely off the bitumen. Don't leave one tyre on the bitumen. Move completely off in line with the guideposts that are there, so that you're giving that truck the maximum room of the road that he can have all the road to travel through. If you're lucky, and if you're going to be serious on this, it would be in your best interest to get a UHF radio put in your vehicle, in your four-wheel drive, and all the trucks operate on channel 40. So if you see that truck coming towards you, and it takes a bit of coordination to brake, put your indicator on, and let him know that you're going to get off the side of the road for him and give him the road. And if you don't, and they've got to get off, you're going to end up doing a windscreen, same as another vehicle or another caravaner coming the one way. The best rule of thumb is to get off the road, completely off the road, and let those people go straight through. You're saving on your windscreen. You're being courtesy, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. And when you do pull up, take the landscape around you. Take that time to look at what's around you and then travel on through. That's my tip, yeah. That's the big machineries. They're the ones that you've got to be, they've got to be like they're carrying probably 120 tonne, so they just can't pull up on a dime. And because there's so many wheels, they just, it takes a lot of manoeuvring, those things. So if you can give them the road, they will really appreciate it. And another tip that I thought of later on is, out here, there's big shifts, like there's probably 800 to 1,000 head of cattle in one load. So there could be 5 or 6 of those trucks. So if you've got a UHF, ask him, is he on his own or does he have some mates behind him? And as I look, there could be 4 or 5 behind me, and he'll let you know how far apart they are. So then you're prepared for those vehicles coming.
And I remember I was travelling in the Outback and I saw your post about this, get right off the road, because at the time I'd only been getting 2 wheels off the road, and I saw your post and it made so much sense and it made me feel so much safer. What prompted you to put that post up, do you recall?
It's my pet peeve. It really is my pet peeve. We treasure our 1 lane, our 4 metres of bitumen. We treasure our truck drivers, our really good truck drivers with a complete load of cattle on. We treasure them to move our stock. So any other truckies that are working in the area, they bring us our food and our vegetables. They're moving the mining as well, So it's economy moving people that they're working. And if you haven't driven a truck before, to actually drive a truck with 3 trailers behind you and keep it on those 4 metres, some people have wider footpaths than what we call our main road. And I take my hat off to them. I'm from a trucking background, so I've got a huge amount of respect. It's also an animal welfare issue when you're talking about cattle trucks. So if you can possibly get off the side of the road, and the councils do their utmost to keep the sides of the road maintained for this reason, indicate, as Rick said, tell them that you're getting off, but indicate if you can't tell them you're getting off, and get complete. My rule of thumb is anything bigger than me, I'm off the road. Okay. Car and caravan, off the road. Sometimes you'll meet on a corner and you've got to try your best to get off the road. It's just a huge safety issue, animal welfare issue, safety issue. These people are working. When there's a truck coming towards you, they're working, and it's a credit that they can keep those big machines on 4 metres of road. And I give them all the respect, and I'll give them all the road and wish them all the best on their journey.
Okay, well, we're not always on bitumen. A lot of this road that we're travelling on is still dirt, and the dirt conditions make it a challenge to drive in. Rick, what's your advice when you're driving on dirt?
Okay, driving on dirt is when it's funny how you say that, because there's people, the Outback Way is still an unsealed, people in their 4-wheel drives, they love it. And when you're talking, we're going to seal, no, that's a great adventure on the dirt roads, and you ruin a great outback journey of travelling on the dirt. And I said, well, if you don't, when we seal it and you don't drive, just drive down in the table drain. You can stay on the dirt if you like. But anyway, no, look, the rule of thumb, same thing. If there's a road train or another vehicle, and depending on the wind, the wind might be blowing over towards you or away from you. But the rule of thumb is, if you are behind one of those vehicles and the wind is blowing over to the right-hand side, don't try and overtake their vehicle, because there could be another vehicle coming the other way and you can't see them in the dust. Now, if the vehicle is coming towards you and the dust is blowing over in front of you across your side, pull over and move right off as far off you can get off the road, in case there is that person coming behind. So same thing, just move right off the road, let that vehicle pass, because if the wind is blowing strong enough, there could be 3 or 4 of those trucks coming, and you can't see any of those because of the dust. So because when you're pulling a triple, the dust is usually covering the third trailer. You visibly can't see the third trailer at times. So you've got to be very careful with those trucks. And same as the vehicles, car, like Ann said, if it's bigger than you, move off the side of the road, let that vehicle pass, let the dust settle and move on, because the last thing you want to do in a great adventure, in a lifetime adventure, is have an accident and all of a sudden your adventure is ruined.
And on that point, you should make sure you've got insurance.
I wouldn't be, like, if you're hiring a vehicle or something like that, and even if you own it, take out insurance. It's just that it's that security that you have on a vast inland drive that you have got, because, okay, once you get out, for a vehicle come and rescue for a breakdown, it's either going to have to come from Mount Isa, if you're travelling from Winton to Boulia and further in, or from Winton. Now, that's a 300-kilometre journey just to get on the Outback Way. So you're looking at vast kilometres for someone to come and to pick you up and rescue you and your vehicle. That's a lot of money if you don't have the insurance.
Okay, now let's say we break down or get a flat tyre or something like that. your advice is stay with the vehicle?
Stay with the vehicle. Do not, under any circumstances, leave the vehicle in that vast area. And if you're travelling it from April through to August, October, the Outback Way is growing. There's a number of vehicles, travelling that road constantly now. The numbers are going through the roof at the moment. So there's going to be someone coming through. And as I said before, with communication, if you let someone know when you're leaving and when you're expected to turn up, like if you break down, they then can inform people that you're not arrived at your destination, and there's stations out there that they can contact and they'll be able to find. Yeah.
The Outback Way is Australia's great self-drive experience, full of adventure. But if self-drive isn't for you, Casey Australia Tours offers end-to-end accommodated safari coach tours. Join their experienced, knowledgeable guides and enjoy the Outback Way from the stress-free seat of a luxury Casey Tours coach. For more information or to book your tour, visit caseytours.com.au or call our West Australian office on 08 93 77 4400 today.
Now, Rick, you mentioned early on you need spare tyres, but take plenty of water. And you said one of the really key things when you're driving in the Outback, whether it's April to August or at other times of the year, is drink plenty of water. I was really surprised by those comments. Explain it to me.
Okay. Now don't stop your cough. But if you're leaving Winton early in the morning, you have your breakfast, you have your coffee or whatever. Now, coffee will give you a energy boost, and when you're driving 370 kilometres, and if you're not used to those distances, a fatigue thing does come in. Where I find over the experience that if you just drink water, pace yourself every half an hour, every 15 minutes, just have a couple of mouthful, have a drinking container there and drink heaps of water. And if you just it seems to stop the fatigue, where if you coffee, you have a boost and then you hit a fatigue in distance. Because like we're born and bred there. So I know, to me, driving 370 kilometres is just like someone doing a school drop-off in the morning, but that's what I find. If you get tired, pull over and just get up, have a walk around, or even if you have a power nap, but you've got a partner with, if you're not doing it on your own, you've got someone else. So share the driving if you can. But my advice is to make sure you drink heaps of water. And that, it's amazing when I started doing, or it probably took me 20 years to realise that I should have been. But I find that if I drink water, I can drive for vast distances.
Now, Rick, you mentioned that you're driving 370 k's from Winton to Boulia. Now, where are we going to spend our next night? We've gone from Winton, we're arrived in Boulia, we've gone to the Min Min Lights, we've seen the creek there, we've had dinner at the pub, which has got some of the best meals in the world. Where are we heading our second night?
Okay, if I'm doing that, you do that trip, Winton to Boulia. You could actually, what you could do is then spend some time in Boulia. I'm probably pushing Boulia a bit here. We've got a fair bit to see in the township itself. You could leave after lunch and make it out to Tobermory, which is 240 k's out to the Northern Territory border. There's only 60 kilometres of that now unsealed. So you've got a sealed road leaving Boulia out towards the Territory. Tobermory Station have set up, it's a credit to them. They've set up, it's a live living station, working station, and they have invested a lot of money for tourism. You can get your car serviced, tyres, all those. So you check your vehicle, those things. A great camping site, shower and facilities there. I think they've actually even got rooms in there now. If you want a room, or if it might be raining or more cold, you want to, instead of camping in your trailer. And then from there, from Tobermory, you drive across to Jervoisa Road, and depending on, and if you find out in Boulia, you'll find out what the road is like. Someone in local government will let you know the road condition, or even the people at Tobermory will let you know. So, you could comfortably go from Tobermory to Gemtree. There's Jervoisa's also got fuel halfway between there. So, there's you can do it quite comfortably.
Now, Anne, this is where I really want to talk to you. I want to talk about the Outback Gallery because that's the charity that we're actually raising money for on this podcastathon. And I really would love other people to or encourage you to visit podcastathon.org to discover more charities through the voices of talented hosts like me from around the world. And this Outback Gallery, it's unique in the world. Tell me about it.
Well, instead of walking through a gallery, you drive through it. Just like a gallery, as you walk around, you see photos. Well, as you drive, you see these photos, billboard-sized photos. And it's just like going through a gallery, only you're driving, and the photos are extra large, and it's amazing. It's the artists, the talents, and each of them tell a story as well. If you stop, you can read the little story on each of them, and that's a good excuse to stop and walk around and have a look at all of them. And they're in sections, so you can do that.
And it's about 110 kilometres long, this art gallery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unique. It's a wonderful idea, and just another thing that's unique in the Outback, and the sharing the community, that there's people that do live out there and they're rather talented about it and they're passionate. It shows in their art that they're passionate about where they live.
If people want to find out more about the outdoor gallery, they can look it up through the Outback Way. Who has done these artworks? Where do they come from?
They live in the area of the Outback Way. Basically, that's where they've sourced the artists from. So from Winton to Laverton, they've basically sourced, or Winton to Alice Springs, they've sourced artists that live in the area to ask them if they want to put their artwork up to show it off as in a gallery in the middle of Australia.
And some of it's done by Indigenous artists, others been done by people like you. Yeah. And some other pieces have been done by people who live on cattle stations along the way. Yeah. They're superb artworks.
Yeah, and they're not just photography. They're artworks, like the paintings of the Indigenous people have been just made that size. Yeah, they look amazing.
Why are we asking people to, in fact, buy a print of one of these artworks?
Well, it's a unique thing to have. You're taking away a piece of the Outback, and then we can keep going to do this, to showcase the artists that are in the middle of Australia and have the opportunity to showcase our wares or our works, because it's amazing thing. It's an amazing community to be amongst because of the talents, and to show off our talents and our communities and what we have to offer in the way of art.
And some of our Indigenous artists are great artists, and the sealing of the Outback Way is going to mean a lot to those communities, yes, perhaps as well.
Yeah. It'll just, Rick touched on it before, it'll just the improvement of everything, like our health facilities, our being able to get food to those sort of places, just a whole combination of having a sealed road. Everything would be easily more provided to people that wish to live in the middle of Australia.
Because we need teachers, we need doctors, we need dentists, we need supermarkets or stores, we need roadhouses. These and if you've got a good road and good facilities, people are more willing to come into those areas.
Yeah, and it's a safety thing. Like you've got a sealed road. Like Rick's just taken how many minutes to explain what you have to do on a dirt road, what you have to do on an isolated road. Even if it's a sealed road, it makes a hell of a lot of difference. And we choose to live out here, but we are also adding to the economy. Yeah. We're like every other person in Australia. We are adding to the economy. All we're asking is for a road that's sealed. Yeah. And we're along the way, we're showing off how talented we are, what we are as business people in the cattle industry as well, that the middle of Australia does actually add to the economy. And, so it'd be, health facilities, supermarkets bringing the food in, like a truck to bring the goods to a property. If they've got a sealed road, well, then the ripple effect of that is better for the truck, better for the truck driver, more convenience, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Now, Rick, we've gone past the Outback Gallery. We're heading into Gemtree. Now, with a name like Gemtree, it sounds like I could go fossicking there. Tell me about Gemtree.
The original family that come out to Gemtree and called Gemtree home, they adjusted their livestock in the Boulia Common for 2 years before they moved their livestock out to Gemtree and called Gemtree home. And that's where the desert is. It's got its whole unique story, the Outback. But Gemtree, they actually have fossicking tours there. It's a little bubbling, hiving community. They set up meals, community meals. They have entertainment at night time. There's fuel. There's all those things that you expect in those unique. And I suppose when you pull up at Tomori and you look at all the vast open Mitchell grass downs country that you've traversed through to get to Tomori, when you get to Gemtree, you're in these rolling hills of spinifex and its own unique colours and the deep red rocks and all those things and that's when you make, and that's what I say, you need to pull up and take those things, because Tomori is black soil, Mitchell grass, and then you get to Gemtree and it's this hard, real purple, deep rocks, hilly country. And just to show that you're not even halfway across Australia yet. And this vast landscape that you've just travelled through from Winton to Gemtree has changed so many times. From Alice Springs to Laverton, it's another whole new adventure on its own. So they're the things, and those people there, they're really unique in they're people who come there, they want to give them experience so that when they this once in a lifetime trip, when they go home, they're going to tell their friends sitting around in the evenings that, oh, you need to go to Australia, you need to do this unique trip. The vastest, and that then becomes a generational thing. And that's where we then showcase what Australia really is.
From Gemtree to Alice Springs, which is almost like the capital of Central Australia, is only 135 kilometres. And from Alice Springs, you could head north to Darwin, south to Adelaide, or then you could head along the Outback Way and go to places like Uluru and Kings Canyon and drive through to Laverton. And then over on the west coast, you've got Perth. Can I thank you both very, very much for joining us? I just want to run through summing up some of our hot tips. April to August is the best time to visit. Get a four-wheel drive camper van. Drive to the conditions. You need good communications. You need Telstra and investigate Starlink. Let people know where you're going and that you've arrived. Show respect. Get off the road when faced with a road train. Stay hydrated with water, not coffee, and stay with your vehicle. From Rick and from Anne, any other tips that we need?
Just one other that with the driving is when you're on some of the seal sections, when you're on a seal section and then you come upon a gravel, then you might hit to the gravel sections, pull up and check your vehicle. Just have a walk and visual of you check your vehicle. And then when you travel that gravel section, you'll come to another seal, like it might be 100 kilometres or 200 kilometres. When you get to the next seal section of road, pull up, do a walk around your vehicle just to check everything. It's just a little safety thing to make sure that, as on corrugated, that things rattle and chase around. So just have a visual of your vehicle. Make sure everything's working right. All your sway bars are done up if you've got a trailer. Your tyres are still sitting up properly. And when you do that, it still allows you to take a moment of the landscape that you're in and see and take in what's there. That's probably the last little tip that I'd have. But that's about wraps it up what you've just abbreviated there, Robin.
And Anne, any other tips? Don't drive at dawn and don't drive at dusk is another one we should be mentioning because there is wildlife on the roads. Any other tips, Anne?
Just make sure you got plenty of water. You can go without food, but just make sure you have plenty of water. And, just if it's that little bit hot Like if you're at either end and you're not used to the heat out here, it can be very sapping. So just make sure you have plenty of water on, you got your extra tyre and extra water. Mm-hmm. That people aren't used to carrying water. They need to carry water.
Ann Britton and Rick Britton, thank you very much for your time. And it's been fantastic to be part of the podcastathon, which is raising awareness of thousands of charities around the world which are dedicated to positive change.
The Outback Way podcast is all about your trip. We're trying to give you valuable information. And for more information on the Outback Way, head to outbackway.org.au. You can catch us on Facebook and Instagram. Enjoy your trip.